Well, Tanner, kind of tell us a little bit. Harsin kind of said a little bit that obviously it wasn't getting better, and this is probably all that. What was the decision like to be able to have to kind of shut it down? What was that process like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was probably one of the toughest decisions I've had to make, just because I love this program. I love playing, obviously, in front of on the blue in front of Bronco Nation, and not being able to play on senior night was tough, but I think it was what's best for me. And my wrist just wasn't getting better, so I had to get it fixed up.
How long had you been playing with the broken wrist?
Actually wasn't a broken wrist. It was some torn ligaments, so the bones were shifting around in there, and they'd pop out of place and stuff like that. So it happened in the Washington State game.
And I know, obviously, I think Oregon State. You left the game and stuff. It seems like you've been dealing with some things all year. I mean, what's it been like trying to play with some of that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, that's the game of football. You're going to be dinged up, and you got to try to push through it. But I mean, in this case, it just had to get fixed.
Did you have a cast on your other hand at some point too? Or were you trying to mask this?
It was taped up. I had a sprained hand for a little bit on this hand, but it's all good.
I mean, you're still second on the team in tackles. I mean, how were you able to play and be as productive as you were for over half the season with all that kind of stuff going on?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to push through it and can't use it as an excuse. I just kept trying to play my game as best as I could, and I think I played pretty well with it.
In terms of the decision making on when to get the surgery, why not wait until a couple games after the season? Why was now the right time?
It wasn't getting better. I honestly feel like it was getting worse, and then the recovery is pretty long, so I just wanted to get it done and get into that.
Obviously, certainly you're a guy who has, maybe pro aspirations and stuff like that. Was the thought ever enter your mind that, hey, you have your future to think about and stuff like that? Did that ever cross your mind?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely think of that, but I wanted to kind of live in the moment, and then hearing kind of the rehab process, I kind of wanted to get it going.
What is kind of the rehab process?
Yeah.
How long do you
Well, I can't. I have pins in it right now, so I can't move it until around Christmas time, and then still just being a ligament and such a small ligament, they want me to kind of keep it still.
How difficult was that, knowing how you've had a fantastic season, even despite the injury, but how difficult was it shutting it down, knowing you were still effective even up to the last game?
Yeah, I mean, it was difficult, but at the same time, I felt like I had to, look out for myself a little bit too, and it was probably one of the hardest decisions. But I mean, I had been thinking about it for weeks and talking to the coaches, and we all felt like it was the right decision.
What do you want, fans and everyone kind of to take away from your career here, your 4 years here, when they maybe 10 years from now look at the roster and see your name and number? What do you want folks to remember? What do you hope stands out?
I just gave it all every time I was out there, every night and every game. I gave it all, and I just love this place.
With obviously Whitlock's going to be stepping in there, and he's a guy who none of us knew about basically in July, and here he is, getting a bit of a starting role. What do you see from him? And obviously, you feel like he's ready to take on this challenge Friday.
I think he has great instincts, and I think that when you have Coach Avalos as your coach, he's going to get you better and get you ready no matter what. And he's a great player, and that's why he's here playing for Boise State.
You're no stranger to this Air Force offense. What are some of the biggest challenges of this offense?
I think the biggest challenge is you practice it, but once you get into the game, the speed that they go at is just a whole different level, and how fast their linemen come off the block, come out and get up on you, and just how fast everything's hitting. You kind of have to wait till you get a couple series into the game to really get a flow going.
Being the competitor you are, how tough is it going to be? I guess it was last game, but to be watching from the sidelines down the stretch.
Yeah, it's tough, but I'm there for the team, and just in a different way. I told the team before I had my surgery, I'm just going to be contributing to our success in just a different way. So I'm just helping out the guys and stuff.
What is your role now? How would you kind of describe it?
I mean, whenever Cam, Blake, I played inside linebacker too, so I can answer questions there. Whenever they have questions, I have answers. So.
Is it? I don't want to say is it weird, but is it odd having to kind of adjust to almost being a coach now in the matter of like 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely weird not going out on the field and practicing and playing, but I still feel like I'm a part of this team, and I have an obligation to help everyone.
Well, was there a player moment during that last game where you kind of just said, okay, this is it, I got to get this taken care of, or was it kind of just a building thing?
Well, I mean, every game would be popping out of place, and that's why I have to run off the sideline and get it back in, and something like that, and it was in the cast, so I just felt like it was just time to do it.
They would pop it back into place and you go back out in the game?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How big was the cast smaller that you were playing with, I guess?
Yeah, they kind of bulked this one up just because I got pins and stuff in there right now, but
so did they have
it was this height, but it wasn't as thick.
So did they have to take it off then, or they could pop it in while it was still on, or what?
Yeah, sometimes I'd take it off, and sometimes you could just it got to the point where it was popping out and popping back in on its own because it was so loose.
When did you actually have the surgery?
Last Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.